Hey, live, yes. Sorry about the wind noise. I think where I'm going, it'll be a little less windy. Anyway, for those of you watching this, welcome. This is going to be a live class. Not going to be, I mean, it is. And I'm in a place in New York City, kind of a cool neighborhood. And we're going to be doing three things. We're going to be walking through a cemetery, so you can see what those look like in America. And also, that's where you see dead people. Well, you don't see dead people, but you'll see a place where they're buried. And also, we will be talking about how to ask where things are, how to ask for directions or ask for help if you're lost. We'll talk about that, and I'll also be answering some questions, some English questions, fluency, culture, grammar, pronunciation, whatever. Lolly is here. Guys, make sure if you haven't already that you hit the like button and also subscribe. Also, hit the like button and also subscribe. Oh, and hit the like button. Oh yeah, and subscribe. This is the local library. This is a small library, but because it's Sunday, it's closed. So I'm just gonna walk across the street, and the cemetery is right over there. I go here sometimes, and it's pretty cool. I like it. Some people are kind of scared of cemeteries. They feel weird about it. Not me. I consider them to be like public parks. I think they're great. So we're walking through that. It's gonna be interesting. See how it goes. Hello, Lolly. Lolly likes my lesson. Woohoo! That's great. Glad to have you here. It is, if you can't guess from what I'm wearing, very cold today here in New York. You can see it's a cloudy day. We could call this an overcast day, but I'm not complaining. I like the cold. I prefer it to the summer because I feel energetic and, I have energy. In the summer, I feel very, very slow. So we're going over there across this big highway. This big highway is called Queens Boulevard. And it's usually a very busy road. Some say the most dangerous road in New York City. There is a white bicycle over there in the median. This middle area is called a median. M-E-D-I-A-N. That's what separates the cars going this way, cars going that way. And there's a white bicycle there, and it means someone was killed by a car on a bicycle. It's quite dangerous, just because of the way the road is laid out. We're not going to go that far, but it's dangerous. Thank you, Lolly. I appreciate that. Now, I want to show you guys one thing before, just in case those of you outside of America think that America is perfect and wonderful. Here, I don't know if you can see that. See that? So I'm in kind of a public area here. And this is a nice area. This is kind of a place to sit. But this is where a homeless man sleeps. Okay? He sleeps on the cardboard. I've seen him here sleeping at night several times. You can see those are some of his clothes there. Maybe I can zoom in here. Yep, you can see some of his clothes there. And he doesn't have a home, apparently. Now, for homeless people in the United States, there are programs to help homeless people. There are places where you can stay. They're not so nice. There are places where you can stay. But many people in the United States are homeless, especially in Los Angeles. If you go to Los Angeles, they have a major homelessness problem. There are whole areas of the city where it's just like a campground. Tents and tents and tents and tents of people who live basically homeless in tents or in little shelters. And one reason is because of drug addiction, because drug addiction is a serious problem in the United States. If you've seen the very great TV show called Breaking Bad, amazing show. If you haven't seen it, hello Gertie. If you haven't seen that show, watch it. But anyway, you'll see how big of a problem it is in the United States. And that's one reason. Another reason is a lot of people, even if they have one job, they can't support themselves because they can't get paid enough. And so that's a problem. And so some people either live in their car or be homeless. My brother lived in his car for 1 year. For an entire year, he lived in his car. He slept in the back seat for a whole year because he was struggling to support himself. There's a big highway there. That highway is, I don't know what that highway is. So we're just coming up to the cemetery. Guys, later we're going to be talking about questions, English questions, so make sure you get your questions ready. I will definitely talk about them. My hands are frozen. Hello, Om Om. Good to have you here. Om Om. It's an interesting name. Isn't that the sound of the universe in Buddhism? Here's a kind of construction site. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but you can see some of the trees still have leaves on them. Do they still have leaves on the trees where you guys are? It's getting cold. This tree obviously has no leaves. These have some leaves. This is a construction site of some kind. Now, this cemetery, Maple Grove, I gotta be careful here because this is a very dangerous road. I don't want them to put a white bicycle up for me. I don't want to be killed by a car. Oh, there it is. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see that? That's the white bicycle. I'm zooming in. Right there in the middle. That is the white bicycle. Hello. Welcome. Hey guys, don't forget to give the video a like. Let other people know what's going on. Give the video a like, subscribe. Of course. Okay, so we're going into the cemetery. Now this cemetery is kind of famous in New York because it's used for a lot of movies. You'll see some movies and TV shows filmed here. The flowers for sale. And wow, it's windy. Sorry about the wind noise. Hopefully this microphone that I'm using blocks the wind. Because it's such a big cemetery, it's a very nice place to get good shots for movies and TV shows. So that's why they come here. And sometimes you'll see big trailers here with actors in the trailers to sort of wait there while they're filming the movie. Now, we're entering the cemetery. We have to read the signs. Now, I don't think it's horror films. I don't think, because this cemetery is one of those really nice cemeteries, I don't think it would be respectful to film a horror movie in a cemetery like this. I think most people would consider it disrespectful. I feel comfortable to come here and walk around and take a video, but I'm not filming a horror movie. I'm not making fun of any dead people, you know? So I don't think it's horror films. I think it's more of a more dramas. I think it's weird that more people don't come to their local cemetery. People regard cemeteries as something to stay away from, but I think that they should be public spaces where people can hang out and talk. I don't know why more people don't come to cemeteries. I come to them all the time just to go for walks because they're beautiful. And I don't understand how walking around in a cemetery is disrespectful. I don't think it is. Okay, here are the rules. Cemetery rules. Proper decorum. Children under 18 must be accompanied by an adult. No dogs, bicycles, roller skates. No plastic flowers or decorations. Fresh flowers only. Thank you. Well, I think then in that case, we're okay. We're all right. We can go in. Now, one reason I wanted to go here is to talk about, which city? We're in New York City. We're in New York City. So I came here because I wanted to show you guys what a cemetery in the United States looks like. This is a normal one. It's very common. You can see the tombstones behind me. Now, you can see, I don't know if you can see in detail, there are some different names in different languages. This is a very mixed, in terms of nationality, cemetery. Now, what's the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery? You might have heard both. A graveyard is usually quite small, maybe an area behind a church, very, very small. Usually a cemetery is much larger. That's the general difference. Usually the cemetery is a big open space and it has a bunch of tombstones, or you could say graves, but the grave is the hole in the ground. Okay, so sometimes you'll hear in movies the expression 6 feet under. 6 feet under is a reference to being dead, because when you're dead, they dig a hole that's 6 feet deep, and that is your grave. Okay, now some people are cremated. Some places in the world cremate people. That means that they're burned, their bodies are burned, and you're reduced to ashes, and then maybe they sprinkle you somewhere. I wouldn't mind being sprinkled on the moon. That would be cool. Mix me in with the moon dust. That'll be good. Some people are buried. All of my relatives who have passed away or died have been buried, except for my grandfather. My father's father was cremated. And I remember that very clearly because it was different. Okay, so we have the grave, which is the hole in the ground, and then you have this one. Now, some people will call this a tombstone, but actually, in this case, we usually call these headstones. I guess you could use either, but a tombstone could also be the one in front of a very large tomb. A very large tomb, which doesn't have to be a hole in the ground. Okay, so you could call these tombstones, I guess, but a lot of people will call these headstones. Okay, so these are all headstones. Headstones. So you'll hear tombstones, headstones, tomb, and grave. Grave is specifically in the ground. The headstone is specifically for a grave, like this. All right, so that's pretty simple. Now we know the difference now between cemetery and a graveyard as well. And you can see here there are some flowers people come to, you could say, commemorate their relatives who have passed away. Now, what about passed away and died? Should we say passed away or died? Well, it's generally much more respectful to say passed away. If someone says, my grandma died, or I'm sorry to hear about your grandma dying, it just sounds like, boom, you know, like a slap in the face. And so it could be considered slightly rude and direct. So, generally we'll use pass away. Much more respectful. And sometimes just pass. Oh, she passed several years ago. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry for your loss. What do you say when you hear someone has died and you want to express that feeling? We'll say, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. Or, and this can be also used for other situations where bad things happen, my condolences. My condolences. All you have to do is say my condolences. Often it's for when people pass away, but also can be used for other bad things, sad things that happen. All right. Any questions, guys, about this stuff? I always feel very fascinated to walk around here just because each of these headstones is a story. You know? That's interesting, I think. Someone here named Goodwin, born 1901, died in 1912. And then maybe Ruth here. Oh, no, sorry, that's not right. No, George, born 1901, died, passed away in 1955. And then Ruth, born 1912, and passed away in 1988, which is the year I was born. And each one of these is a story. And so I think coming here and just thinking about what the stories might be, sometimes even maybe looking up some names, searching them, it's very interesting, I think. Very interesting. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions about anything. Will you be afraid to come in midnight? I think at this moment, I would say, oh yes, I could come at midnight, no problem. Of course. Because during the daytime, I'm courageous, I have no fear. But I think if I actually tried to come here at night, or maybe a forest at night, then I might be different. I might be afraid. I might be scared. Okay, here's an example of what you might call this a tomb rather than a grave, because I don't think it's underground. It's above ground. So this one, which is probably more expensive, we might call this a tomb rather than a grave. It's a little room. It looks like it has a shrine inside, right? You can see, I think that's maybe Mary in there, cross. Yeah. And this also, not just a headstone, a little more complicated. Sleepwalker says, do you believe in anything supernatural? No, I don't. I don't. I'm not religious. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe that people can read minds. I don't believe in that kind of thing. However, I will say this. You saw something behind me? I am here alone. There is literally nobody else here in this gigantic cemetery. Don't say things like that. Don't say things like that. All right. Oh, I want to show you the story stones before we leave here. Story stones. What was I saying? What was I talking about? Now you frightened me, and now I've lost what I was going to say. Damn. Oh well. So here they have these story stones, and they tell a story of the cemetery and the area around here. So it's pretty cool. I want to show you one of those. Can you guys remember what I was talking about before? I totally forget. I totally forget. Maybe I'm too cold. Story stones. Ooh, a story stone. All right. Wow, look how old this one is. This is so old, you can't even read the words on it. Some of these are so old and weathered that you can't read them. That's most fascinating. You know, when they're so old that you know there's this ancient history here, but the ancient history is being washed away, being worn away by rain and by wind, till eventually it will fade completely. Fascinating. Fascinating. All right, let's check out Story Stone. Sorry about the wind, guys. Is the wind sound too bad? I hope not. All right. So, here we go. Let's get closer. In the late 19th century, many African Americans were buried in unmarked graves near this stone. Hundreds of impoverished children and adults taken early in life by the diseases of the times were brought to common graves from New York City, homes and hospitals. Buried here as well are African American residents of Jamaica, Queens, who helped build our vital community. Day of Remembrance, September 2005. And then here you have an important African American recording star here who apparently is buried here. Yeah. So they tell kind of a story of what happened. Apparently, people were in unmarked graves, common graves, which is quite sad. Ah, interesting. Can you repeat the difference between a grave and a cemetery? Okay, so think of a grave as a hole in the ground. That's what a grave is. For putting someone in it who has passed away. That's what a grave is. One hole in the ground to put a dead or deceased person in. Okay? A cemetery is a place like this which has many people who have passed away, but in different ways buried or interred. One maybe a grave with a headstone, maybe another in a tomb, and maybe another in if someone is what was I saying? If someone is I've lost the word. I've completely lost the word. Yeah, anyway. Different ways. So the cemetery is the place. Cemetery is the place. I don't know why. I feel like since I've become very cold, I can't find words in my brain. It's driving me crazy. They both have their own graves. They never came back to their homes. Yes. So then the graveyard is usually what we consider. It's the same thing, but it's usually considered smaller, not huge. A graveyard is a smaller area, maybe behind a church or something, and it's very local, right? This is huge. So cemeteries are often bigger. And I think that's the only difference. There might be another technical difference, but I'm pretty sure that's the only difference is the size. Basically, it has the whole thing. They have both things. So, yeah. I think we're going to head out now. What do I think of cremation? So, apart from my joke earlier about wanting to be, man, I cannot speak. I think it's because of the cold. Wanting to be cremated and sent to the moon. Apart from that joke, I think, I don't know, neither option. Can I just choose to not die? That would be my choice. I remember the word I was trying to think of. So if you're cremated, then you'll go to a place called the mausoleum. That's the word I was trying to find that I lost in my brain. So over there is people who are cremated. These people are not cremated. These people were buried in graves with headstones. And then over there is a mausoleum which has people, little boxes called urns. It's called an urn. Maybe Lolly can help out with those words. Urn, cremation, and mausoleum. Those are the words. It's all coming to me. Maybe I was cursed while I was walking through. Now I'm exiting. All the words are coming back to me. It's getting better. It's becoming clear. I'm no longer being affected by the spirits. I also remember the thing I lost. This is weird. When I was over there, I completely lost my concentration. I couldn't think of any words I wanted to say, and I even forgot about the topic I was talking about before. And then as soon as I started to leave, here's the gate, I suddenly remembered everything. Weird. Very weird. So someone asked about if I believe in anything supernatural, right? And generally I don't. Although I think it's fine if people do. By the way, that includes horoscopes, the zodiac, Capricorn and Scorpio and all that stuff. I don't believe in that stuff either. But I was going to say that I do believe that there are aliens on other planets. But I think I believe that for a very logical reason. The reason that I believe that there are aliens on other planets is that the Earth is only one planet in a solar system of 8 planets in a galaxy of something like 200 billion stars, each of which has, who knows, maybe 3 to 10 planets on which there may be life, maybe. And then there are over, I can't remember if it's 1 or 100 billion, or maybe it's 400 billion galaxies that we know of. So even if it's a low number, 100 billion times 400 billion, whatever it is, it's a huge number. And you can't tell me that none of those planets have life besides ours. That is ridiculous, in my opinion. Now, the other question is, have they visited Earth? That, I think, is much less likely. So personally, I think it's unlikely that aliens have visited Earth, but I think it's very likely that there are aliens out there on other planets. Do you think that aliens are like human beings? That's a really interesting question. You know, in science fiction movies, most of the time, one of my favorite TV shows is Star Trek, The Next Generation, the older Star Trek TV shows, right? One of my favorite shows. And most of the alien races are what they call humanoid. So they might have a wrinkle here, or something like big bumps on their faces, or maybe only 3 fingers. But generally speaking, they look like humans. They have 2 legs, 2 arms, a face, nose, and a mouth. And there are other species that are totally different, almost lolly, humanoids, O-I-D-S. But I think that might just be for convenience, right? Because how do you make totally different aliens for a TV show every single time? That would be kind of difficult. I think in real life, if there are aliens, I think there probably are some that are close to humanoid, but I'm sure that there are others who are not. I think ones that reach the level of technology to have spaceships and computers do need to have some basic requirements. I don't think they necessarily have to have a face that looks like ours. They don't necessarily have to have 2 legs. So I think those things could be variable. But honestly, you do have to have some things. You have to have some way to grab things easily. If you're going to develop, you have to be able to first make tools. And to make tools, you need to be able to grab things. So our opposable thumbs are a very important step in our evolution. Also, the fact that we walk up on our 2 legs. This is also a very important step in our evolution, because if we were walking around on all 4s, we never would have evolved to be able to use our hands to make tools. If we never would have used our hands to make tools, we never would have been able to hunt big animals. If we never would have hunted big animals, we never would have survived, probably, and we probably would never have developed culture and stories about hunting, language, early pictures on caves, fire. I mean, fire, you have to be able to stand up and use your hands to make a fire. And that's kind of a requirement. So any aliens who are advanced enough to have technology need some kind of grabbers, I think, and they need to have them free at least, so that they can, or they could have, in their own evolution, developed in a similar way to us. Basically, I don't know, but it's my guess. I like science fiction. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do. Oh, I'm really tempted to get a piece of pizza from Danny's Pizza. All right, guys, I'm going to show you something. This is the greatest pizza on the planet Earth. I'm not hungry right now, but I'm going to show you the place. If you ever come to New York, this is a place you must go. This place here. It is called Danny's House of Pizza. Now, I have tried lots of different kinds here in New York. I've traveled around the world I've tried pizza from literally 20 different countries and 30 different cities in the United States. And this is the greatest pizza of all time. And maybe in another live class I will go in and get a slice. But not today. All right. If you see any UFOs, tell us. I will. Hook Jover have you watched The Mandalorian? Yes, I have been watching The Mandalorian. If you guys don't know, The Mandalorian is the show on Disney Plus, the new show on Disney Plus. It's a Star Wars show, so for those of you who like Star Wars. And so far, it's only been 2 episodes, but it's not bad. Not bad. I'm sorry. Okay, do you guys have any questions I haven't answered? I'd like to know the difference between all and whole. Oh, that's a good one. All right, I'll answer that. As we walk to a bakery, because I am in the mood for either a piece of coffee cake or something else. I'm in the mood. In the mood means I want that. If you want something, you can say you're in the mood for that, or you can say, I feel like having that. I could say, ooh, I really feel like having a piece of coffee cake. I really want a piece of coffee cake, or I'm in the mood for a piece of coffee cake. Or sometimes I could go for. All right? Actually, these expressions can be used to talk about both. Maybe it's better if I give a few examples. So, when you want to say what you want, not what you want in terms of basic things, but a feeling of desire, especially around going places that are fun, doing things that are fun, and often food, drinks, or sometimes, entertainment, like watching movies. We say, I'm in the mood for, I could go for, I feel like. And then the opposite would be to say that we don't want those things. So, talking to a friend, you might say, I could really go for a slice of Danny's pizza. How about you? And then your friend will answer. Or, I'm really in the mood for a movie. You want to go? I'm really in the mood for a movie. That means I want to watch a movie, right? Or I'm in the mood for some beer. Let's go. Okay. So we could say, I feel like I'm in the mood for. Both of those, very, very common. And to go for, same exact thing. You know what? I could really go for Indian food. I feel like eating Indian food. I could go for Indian food. I'm in the mood for Indian food. All of those very common. Okay? Now, if somebody asks you to do something and you don't want to, then say the same thing, but just turn it around and make it negative. For example, someone says, hey, you want to go to a movie tonight? I'm not really in the mood for a movie. I'm not really in the mood for a movie. Hey, you want to go grab a beer? I don't really feel like getting a beer. I want to stay home. I don't really feel like it. Okay. Now the one go for, not so much. Hey, could you go for a beer? We wouldn't usually say, I couldn't really go for a beer. That's the one that we don't usually make negative, but especially in the mood for, not really in the mood, I don't really feel like it. Very, very common. We can also say, up for it sometimes. I'm not really up for a movie tonight. I'm not really up for pizza. I just have a snack and go to bed. Up for it sometimes. But we usually don't say that one in the positive. We won't usually say, I'm up for a movie. You could, I guess, but it's generally used in the negative. So, up for in the negative. No, I'm not up for that, not really up for that. Not really in the mood for that. I don't really feel like that. And then when we want to say the things we want, I could go for that. I'm really in the mood for that. And I feel like having that or doing that or whatever. Okay. Not really in the mood to go out. I'm not really up for going out. I'm not really in the mood to go out. Yeah. I think the question was, what's the difference between all and whole? Okay. The difference between all and whole is, let me think for a second. Okay, so all is when you have, okay, so the basic idea is the same. It's a 100%. That's the meaning of all and whole, right? Whole is only to talk about one thing that is completely filled. Okay, 100% of one thing. For example, I ate the whole pizza by myself. I ate the whole pizza by myself. Or the whole group wanted to go. The whole group wanted to go. Okay, that means 100% of the group. There are 10 people in the group. 10 people want to go. The whole group. A group is one thing. A pizza is one thing, right? The whole society. That means everyone in the society. The whole society. Okay, same thing. The same thing. Exactly the same. So it's 100% of a thing. Now sometimes we can use all for that. We can say all of my body, right? I had red dots over all of my body. Just as we could say I had red spots over my whole body. Okay, both of those are okay. We might say all of the group, but it would be much, much more common to say the whole group. Much more common in this case to say the whole group. When we want to focus on it's one thing, and it's 100% of the one thing, then we should generally use whole, okay? Now, all is most often used when we want to talk about many different things. We're not focusing on 100% of a whole, we're focusing on 100% of not a whole, but just 100% in general, and we're focusing on the individuals, right? For example, all of us want to go. Well, us isn't really a thing, right? It's not a group, it's not a cup of coffee, it's not a pizza, right? All of my friends is not really, there isn't really a special group called my friends. So we're focusing more on the fact that it's just 100% of the people who I call friends. And that doesn't have to be a clearly defined group, right? So that's generally how it's used. We might say, we watched all of the episodes of Breaking Bad in one night. One night has 6 seasons, 62 episodes. We watched all of the episodes. Now, we could say whole here, but it's different. When we say all of the episodes are individual things. So we're focusing on individual things still, right? All of my friends. Friends are individual things, right? All of us. Each member of us. Each one of us, right? All of the episodes, individual things. But if then I want to use whole, I could say I watched the whole series in one night. All 62 episodes. All 62 episodes. I watched the whole series. So notice, we use whole, we say series. Series is the one piece thing. All is each one. All is each one. So that's generally the difference. Does that make sense? Is that clear? Does that help? Yarmila? The whole group wants to go. Exactly. How do I say rightly? I'm giving you sheet of papers, or I give you sheet of papers. Neither of them, because paper is uncountable. Some sheets of paper, or just paper, gave you some paper. Paper is usually uncountable, unless we're talking about scientific papers. Then it's countable. Yeah. What time is it? 2:54. Well, guys, it's getting close to about that time. I'm going into it. Check out the bakery here. I ate all pizza or versus I ate the whole pizza. I ate the whole pizza. Okay, the pizza. Okay, let's say that we're not focused on is there a pizza or not. We just see 3 pieces there. I ate all the pieces because we don't know if it's one whole pizza, right? We just see 3 pieces. Hey, who ate? There were 3 pieces of pizza here. Who ate them? Oh, I'm sorry. I was hungry. I ate all of them. I ate all of them because we're focusing on the individual slices. The individual slices. Shout out to you from Saudi Arabia. Hey, thanks for watching. Cool beans. What's the difference between clumsy and awkward? Yeah, that's a good question. Clumsy is physical. Clumsy is someone who's not good at managing their body as well as maybe others. They might fall down sometimes. They might bump against things. They may be not a very good dancer. Perhaps they just don't seem very elegant in their movements, not very smooth in their movements. Now, sometimes we use clumsy to talk about speech. Someone who maybe talks like maybe is a little clumsy. You have kind of clumsy speech. Okay, so you could use it for speech. It's generally a physical thing. Awkward is more of a social thing, more of a person-to-person thing. Okay, now this is a very interesting question. If someone says, "Oh, that's awkward," maybe it's because they saw someone fall down flat on their face in the mud. Ooh, that's awkward. But it's not that it's because they're clumsy. It's that they fell down on their face in the mud, and now I kind of feel uncomfortable, right? Like watching a TV show with your grandma, and you're watching the show, and then suddenly there's a sex scene or something in the TV show, and you're in the room with your grandma. It's like, oh, this is very awkward. It's very uncomfortable because you don't want to watch that with your grandma, right? It's very awkward. Sometimes people say something and you just think, well, why did you say that in this situation? That's so awkward. It's so awkward. When I first started doing this, right? When I first started live streaming, the first time I walked out in public, because when you do this, everyone's looking at you like, what is this crazy guy with a selfie stick doing, walking around in the street? Sometimes I go to Times Square, or last time we were, where were we? Wherever. And people look at you. At first, I felt very awkward. Now I don't, but I did at first. So it's a feeling of discomfort, social discomfort, because of some reason. The situation, somebody does something, somebody says something, whatever it may be, okay? So more social. Awkward is more social, and clumsy is that. Physical. All right, guys, we're gonna have to stop it for today. Thank you for your awesome questions. Don't forget to come next week on Sunday. We're gonna do this again. Hopefully we can go longer. If you want me to check out any certain places in New York, I would love to have your suggestions. Maybe you've heard about a place and you want to see it. Don't say Statue of Liberty, please. I won't go there. But if there's somewhere reasonable that I can go and hang out, and you want to research New York a little bit and then have me go there, I can check that out on Sundays. And so I'll take your suggestions, and we can hopefully go somewhere interesting, and bring your questions. Don't forget, guys, give the video a like. It's very important. And also, what else? What else? Oh yes, don't forget to subscribe. No Statue of Liberty, guys. I have no interest in going there, and it's not very convenient. It's not happening. You guys do some research, do some Googling, and let me know what you think. You can message me. Let's see, what else? You can maybe message in the Facebook group. Oh yeah, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, make sure you do that. Facebook, search Cloud English Club. Anything else? No, guys, thanks. Like button, questions for next time, suggestions on where to go. Thanks for joining. I'll see you next time. Central Park is a good one. We'll do that. I like that. Central Park. Done. All right, guys. See ya.